We are back, ladies and gents. It's your girl, Denise Salcedo and Robin Lundberg. It is Friday, April 25th, and we are here to chat about the SmackDown After Mania. Robin, I gotta tell you, I'm feeling super hyped coming off of that show. A lot of news to get into, a lot of big moments, but in particular, that ending of a main event, the tag team TLC. Before we break that all down, what did you think of today's show?
Well, I mean, I think the ending was the biggest part of the show, and will one of the talking points I think you'll see, Denise, is why wasn't that on WrestleMania, right? Like, why wasn't that on WrestleMania? But I'm going to counter that because if that was on WrestleMania, it wouldn't have gotten as much love. Twofold. Number one, they wouldn't have gotten the amount of time I don't think that they got tonight. That was a long match, and number two, it was the central focus of attention. It was the main event of SmackDown. It allows us to come in here and react to it right after the fact versus being buried amid the card of WrestleMania. So I think it actually was a better showcase for the performers to be on SmackDown rather than WrestleMania, though it was absolutely a WrestleMania quality match. And Montez Ford is kind of built for a tables, ladders, and chairs match. He came through, but everybody came through in the midst of that. Lots of great spots, lots of great action, and it paid off. And you could tell the crowd was into it at the end, too.
Oh my gosh. Robin, I think you're right in that sense because I even put it out there and I'm going to be like everybody else, like that should have been on WrestleMania. And of course, like when you think about the tag team match that we did get at WrestleMania, the New Day and the War Raiders, they did not come even close. I mean, they could not be more apart in terms of quality of performances, right? But you're right, though. They did go into this match with a chip on their shoulder with a, hey, man, I got bumped from freaking WrestleMania. Everyone wants to be on WrestleMania. You go into that with a chip on your shoulder. You go in that with a feel that really, it propels you to actually go out there and put your best foot forward. And we don't know how much time they would have or wouldn't have gotten on WrestleMania. So in a way, you're kind of right that they went into this with a more having to prove, having to show something and got the time to do it. But the moments in this were absolutely incredible. One of my favorite, I mean, God, there was a lot. I can't even remember everything right now, but they recreated the Jeff Hardy Edge spot, but they did so with the table. I thought that was freaking cool. They used a fan's prosthetic leg as a weapon. Robin, when I saw that, I'm like, what is it? And then once I actually saw him lift up, I'm like, yo, that is someone's leg. What? And so it was just nonstop. The table spots, the ladder spots, all of it. There was a moment where I forgot who got hit with a chair in the head while they had a chair, so their whole head just spun the other direction. There was just a bunch of really creative moments during this, and also paid some tributes to some other stuff. Montez Ford, the way that he was trapped in the ladder by the end, but then somehow got out of it and was able to climb up. There were so many cool moments during this. If you didn't get a chance to watch this episode of SmackDown, go out of your way to check out that main event. It was one that is pay-per-view caliber.
Yeah, and I think my favorite part was actually the way Montez Ford was able to get up the ladder and get the titles. For all the big brutal spots, and there were a lot of them. Over the top rope, through the tables, through the ladders, all that. The ingenuity and the agility to be able to get up there and get the titles that way, I thought was kind of cool. So that was actually my favorite moment at the end.
Oh, I loved it, man. I thought Street Profits looked so great. Someone in the chat mentioned, like, I can't wait till we see Street Profits and Fraction. I'm like, stop it. That's really great. So here's the thing, Robin, and this is why I also want to take a second to put this over a little bit. You and I haven't been so hot on what they've been doing for the SmackDown tag team division. I feel like after this match, they completely turned that around where now, if they wanted to, they can continue this with this being a hotter division than it has been in the last couple of weeks. And don't mind me, there has been some sporadic good matches here and there, but this one I think has been the official turning point on how I feel about the SmackDown tag team division.
Well, there's a lot of good tag teams on SmackDown. It's not that there weren't the quality competitors. It just felt like a little juice was missing. This was interesting though because I generally don't think it's the wrestling that brings the heat. The wrestling is the payoff to the heat. But in this case, the wrestling may have brought the heat, where you felt afterwards, you're like, all right, okay, I feel good about the Motor City Machine Guns. All right, I feel good about Ciampa, like in everything that happened there, and Gargano, and obviously the Street Profits too. I mean, everybody came off looking good in that performance, and you could see why they would want their licks back. You could see why the Street Profits would have something to brag about, and maybe it's that little bit of a powder keg to give the tag division some oomph when it had the quality participants, but it just kind of felt like it was there before.
Yes, I agree with that. And just to put this into perspective, John Cena was on this show. John Cena is the second thing we're going to get into today. It's not the first thing. Usually John Cena's on the show. This is the first thing we're talking about because it's John Cena. No, the first thing we're talking about today is the great work that the tag team did, that all the tag teams did today. They absolutely freaking killed it. We got a couple of super chats here. This is from CJ, who says, is it just me that thinks the Street Profits heel turn was pointless? Fans just wanted a serious push, and it shows that they be in the crowds as heels. Yeah, I think had they done more with the Street Profits as heels, it could have gone somewhere. Especially because we were kind of seeing the same version of the Street Profits over and over again. And then also it's kind of weird too, because I think a lot of people were also at one point anticipating for Montez Ford to go off and be a single star, as well as Angelo Dawkins, and neither of those things really happened. So I think had the heel turn been done executed nicely, then okay, great. We could have gone a little bit better had it been executed better, but it just wasn't. And so now at least we're back to the Profits that we do like, which is just the cool guys that go out there and put good wrestling matches.
Yeah, and look, they've always had a lot of potential. I mean, we've talked about what Montez Ford could be as a single star, but I think Dawkins has gotten way better over the years as well, and he had some big moments in this match too. I mean, he's the one that sort of recreated the TLC spot from 17, right? Or at least a spear bit, and with his size, it's impressive to see him do that stuff.
Oh yeah, for sure, man. When I saw Dawkins starting to start to frame himself, I'm like, yo, he's so big and he's about to do it. It's always more impressive when you see the meteor guys do this kinds of stuff. So yeah, it's great. Thank you, CJ. We got CJ again, who also says, I'll push back on that argument. They could have easily cut that El Grande Americano match and the other tag match that's your time there instantly improves Mania. Right, but I think we kind of realized that WWE has sort of taken an approach where they want to see more people on the show versus, oh, let's make more time for this match because we think it deserves more time. It's more about getting people on the card is what it feels like nowadays. And yeah, you could make those tweaks again. There's so many different arguments you can make about how this WrestleMania was booked, but at the end of the day, they made the decisions they made. Thank you, CJ. We got Anthony Giuliano here who says, hey, Denise and Robin, what was your opinion of WrestleMania and The Rock not showing up? I see you wearing your new Punk shirt, Denise. Thank you, Anthony. I'm really obsessed with this shirt. I've talked a whole lot about The Rock not showing up. Robin, how have you felt about that?
His comments kind of pissed me off, if I'm being real about it, and I'll get to it in the John Cena segment too, because it's sort of related. But it left a bad taste in my mouth about everything that I didn't necessarily even feel that bad about, because I'm thinking, okay, where are they going with it? But the way that he said it made it seem so half-assed and haphazard. Like he came together to try and save things and painted himself in that role, and then it didn't get paid off. So either it is this long work, as he put it, and eventually we're going to figure out what he was there doing with his dumbass countdown, and with everything that's transpired in between, the kill sign with Cena turning heel, or it makes me feel like this whole John Cena bit was half baked, which is a bad thing when you're talking about one of the all-time greats who's never done a full heel turn like that. So even if it was the case, don't tell me it's the case. That makes it worse. And so I hated what The Rock said this week, to be quite honest. And the only way he can make it up to me is by showing back up and doing the final boss character, because he's great at it. But he came off like a pompous ass, and he made the company look bad.
I think what I got from that and my biggest takeaway was that he and Triple H are not on the same side. It does not seem like that. If, obviously we could speculate hey, that there's maybe some tension or some disagreements. Before it was all really just speculation, right? We could assume, we could predict. Based off of that interview, that was my biggest takeaway was, ooh, these two guys, they ain't on the same page. And it felt like to me, like The Rock was basically saying, like, yeah, I would have done it better. I would have finessed it better. And I do think in a way, like, look, The Rock was already part of that. The Rock was already involved in it. I wish that he wouldn't have not been involved in it towards the end. But I do see also what The Rock meant when he said that they had 6 weeks to like make it more about John Cena, make it more about Cody without it having to be about The Rock. And they really, really did it, right? So I get what he meant by that. But at that point, it was a little too late. He was involved regardless. And I do think that the second they brought in Travis, like I think they should have expected that people were going to expect for The Rock to come out too. And I could tell that there was a big discrepancy when The Rock said, oh, this moment should have just been about John Cena. It should have just been about John Cena. And that's what he told, apparently, that's what he told WWE. That's what he told Triple H. And then they went out and brought Travis Scott. So I'm like, I don't know, man. All I know from this is that these two guys are not on the same page from the looks of it.
Well, Travis Scott's inclusion made sense. He was there. The Rock's absence didn't make sense in retrospect, connecting it all because Rock can say whatever he wants. It should be about John Cena. Who were we led to believe that John Cena turned heel at the behest of? The Rock was standing in the fucking ring. So you can't really sit there and say he had nothing to do with it or he wasn't a part of it. Travis Scott was there too. Like that was a callback to what happened then. It was the fact that he was missing that made people go, okay, you know your role in this whole thing.
It's messy. Honestly, that's all I can say. It's messy. It's interesting that he decided to do the interview on Pat McAfee's show. The comments that he wrote back to Dave. I mean, all of it. It's just messy, the whole thing. And it kind of sucks that what was a really cool moment at Elimination Chamber, John Cena turning heel, ended up being this. And that brings us into let's go ahead and get into it. John Cena and Randy Orton. So that happened here today. All right. So on Raw, John Cena cut this promo and Randy comes out, RKO's him. So we kind of know, okay, this is where we're going. Today on SmackDown, John didn't even get a word in. Randy Orton comes out and we get this back and forth. And I was not expecting what they ended up doing in this back and forth, Robin. It was basically Randy telling him, I've known you for 25 years. You've done all of these things for 25 years, most Make-A-Wish stuff, all of that, right? And he said, but there's clearly a void in you. And I'm looking at it, I'm totally, locked into what they're saying, right? And then he says, you don't have kids. I was like, what? This is not where I thought that this was going to go. And then John Cena went on this whole tangent about how he raised all of the kids and he's a better parent than everybody else. And he parented all of the kids and this and that. And I honestly thought that shit was hilarious because it was so out of left field that I wasn't expecting it, that it really, really threw me off there. But I mean, this ended with some more back and forth between Randy and John. They made the match official for Backlash. And, Randy gets him with an RKO at the end of this segment. So for me, I thought that this was a perfectly fine segment. I was interested in it. I laughed. I didn't hate what they did. It's kind of silly. It's kind of goofy, but I didn't hate it. What did you think, Robin?
Yeah, I just can't keep. I'm watching all this stuff and I vacillate between like awkward. Is this awkward? What's going on? Or am I entertained by what's
Right,
going on?
right.
Yeah, and so when he delivered that line, I felt that way. And John Cena's entire now arc or whatever you're calling, I kind of feel that way because I'm like, all right, or they sort of cheered him at WrestleMania, but he got the boos tonight, and some of his lines land, like the one about I raised your kids land, but he keeps cutting promos on the crowd every time. That's basically who he's cutting the promos against. It's sort of strange to see him in the heel role and Orton in the babyface role, which Orton pointed out as well. I guess I'm into it. I mean, I guess I'm into the match and the build. It's hard for me to separate, Denise, what we were just talking about with this, because I'm wondering, like, was it all streamlined or did it, here we go. Let's RKO out of nowhere, Randy Orton out of nowhere. And now we've got our Backlash main event.
Do you think there's a chance that Randy actually walks out champion?
No,
Me either. I kind of
Yeah.
want him to though, but I know it's not gonna happen.
Yeah, I mean, because how, like, again, talking about like undercutting yourself, you can't do the John Cena heel turn and then beat Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania and then take the title off him a month later. This needs to eventually have a grand payoff. Whatever they did, whatever monstrosity they did, the toothpaste can't get back in the tube, but it better brush my teeth by the end of it.
All right, well, as long as the teeth are healthy and brushed, we can move forward with that. No, but I get you. I get what you mean by this. It's just yeah, I sort of I feel that way too, Robin. Sometimes where I'm listening to the promos, I'm like, this is funny, but is it good? Is it good in the grand scheme of things, right? And that, how everything plays out will continue to be seen, right? But as of right now, look, I don't hate this. I'm invested in Randy and John Cena. I care about where they're going with this. And I'm just like, God, I'm just hoping that this gets better than what we saw. It's just so disappointing that things went down the way that they did with Cody. And I want to see Cody also come back and redeem himself in the sense that they made him look so silly at WrestleMania. I don't want Cody Rhodes walking around with the L above his head, Like he needs to come back and redeem himself, not just by winning back the championship, but by winning back the people in the sense that I'm not saying he lost to people or anything like that, but you don't want anyone to think of you as like, oh, you were dumb in this match.
A
You don't want
tool.
anyone thinking about that. Exactly. You
Yeah.
don't want to be seen as a tool. No, you don't. And that's where I want him to redeem himself.
Yeah, and he's been tooled out a few times. I mean, the puppy dog face with The Rock taking his spot last year, which worked out really
Oh,
well
yes.
in his favor
Yes.
eventually. But then even the whole Rock selling your soul thing, he waited a whole damn week, before
Right?
we.
And what are you doing? You shouldn't be waiting a whole ass week for that, bro. Any normal person would be running out of the building.
Yeah, exactly. So he's contemplating, do I give this man my soul? And then we figure after that happens, we find out it was all rubbish anyway, that there was never actually going to be a ride that Dwayne was taking us on. And then, and then finally.
Hearing you say this makes me really sad. Like, as a Cody fan, what are they doing to Cody?
Yeah, and then the end of the match, like, oh no, I'm not gonna do it. By golly, I'm not gonna hit you with the belt. I'm too much of a good, upstanding competitor.
I was screaming, Robin. I was saying, Cody, hit him with the damn belt. The referee ain't fucking looking. Hit him with the damn belt. I felt like jumping into the screen and grabbing that belt and doing it my damn self. That's what that moment felt like. What are we doing here? I hearing you say this and recap it makes me feel really, really bad.
Well, yeah, and what happens with Cody now, right? Because he had this. I mean, he had one of the most organic, momentous things a year ago, a year and change ago. And now you have all that stuff I just laid out. Plus, the crowd was cheering John Cena over him and sort of booing him a little bit. And then he does the tool thing. So how does he redeem himself from there? Like, and the Rock basically also was like, yeah, I wanted him to turn heel. So like, what the is going on?
This is wild, guys. This is the timeline we're in right now. So I don't even know what to say. Let me get into some more super chats here. We got Anthony Giuliano here who says, sad, my favorite is injured. Bianca, hope she gets back soon. Yeah, she's got some broken fingers, but damn, she put a hell of a match. They got themselves a 5-star match. Respect to those women. We got Sleaze Boy here who says, if you ever see Drew McIntyre, tell him he needs to worry about paying his student loan rather than chasing the title. Sheamus exposed him on Hot Ones. What? I need to see this. I
Uh,
didn't see nothing about student loans. Does he still own student loans? Owe them? That's funny.
I guess that's what Sheamus alluded to, but I'm just trusting Sleaze Boy here.
Okay, I'm gonna have to watch that. Like, there's been so much great content that I need to catch up. I also want to see Rhea Ripley. She was on Kevin Hart's show when they're in like the tub. I want to see that too. Thank you, Sleaze Boy. All right, we got Bob Ross Jr. with a very generous super chat. Bob, thank you so much. He says the WrestleMania Backlash card appears strong. No, we're not calling it WrestleMania Backlash no more. I used to hate that. I hated that, Robin, when they were calling it WrestleMania Backlash. Well, get out of here. Just call it fucking Backlash. So the Backlash card appears strong, featuring matchups like John Cena versus Randy Orton, CM Punk and Roman Reigns versus Seth Rollins and Braun, and a U.S. title match between Fatu, Drew, LA Knight, and Priest. Yeah, let's get into that because that was kind of a lot that happened here. So God, Drew McIntyre ended up getting involved in this US title picture. They ended up making a match between LA Knight and Drew McIntyre to determine the new number one contender. And I'm like, where is this going? We ended up seeing solo attack LA Knight. And Drew ends up, he looks like he's about to get the wins at the hands of the help of Solo Sikoa. But then Damian Priest, who we didn't know was there, ended up coming out and attacking Drew McIntyre. And so then what ensued afterwards was just madness. Everybody was fighting with everybody. At one point, Jacob Fatu came flying out of nowhere, did a dive, took everyone out. I mean, it was just crazy. A lot went down with this, but all I gotta say is Jacob Fatu. Oh yeah, Jacob Fatu ran amok. He was attacking everybody. He was doing his moonsaults. He was just going crazy, super over with the crowd. Earlier in the night, Solo Sikoa did cut a promo, and he was like kind of taking credit for everything that Jacob Fatu had done, and Jacob Fatu was not having it with that. So that's another thing. So there was just a lot that happened here. Jacob Fatu is hella over. I was surprised to see Drew McIntyre in this, but now seeing where it's leading and that they're continuing the stuff with Damian Priest, I do like that. What'd you think?
Yeah, I mean, I like the way that Jacob Fatu wears the title around his neck on the way out. I like the bit with Solo. I do hope it's multiple participants because I don't want to see a run back of Drew McIntyre and Damian Priest. That was two of the things that fell a little flat to me. Was like, oh, okay, here comes Damian Priest attacking Drew McIntyre, and we'll get to the other later, which was Nia Jackson and Tiffany Stratton again, like things that we feel like we've seen, maybe even Naomi and Jade Cargill, a lot of like rehashing of what we just saw. When I feel like WrestleMania is supposed to close the book on some of that and open the new chapters. But nonetheless, Jacob Fatu's run with that title could be really good. I could see a multi-person chaos match like is alluded to here by Mr. Bob Ross Jr. And I overall, that's my biggest takeaway is the Jacob Fatu thing ain't going nowhere. You know, LA Knight and Drew McIntyre cut some good promo back and forth. I thought Drew actually got the best of that war of words, but Fatu just has this charisma and aura that's just working for him now, complete with some of his catchphrases starting to get over. People just like to say the Fatu, and they, you know what I mean? You know, all that stuff, all gas, no brakes, like all of it's working for him.
You nailed it right there, man. I love that he's still doing the all gas, no brakes, because the first time he said that, everybody was like, ooh, that's a cool line. And I was wondering if he was going to continue using it, and he did. And I think you're right in everything that you said, that I do also want to see it be more of a multi-man match. I was wondering if they're going to just redo Fatu and Ali Knight and Drew and Damian Priest, but to shake it up a little bit, they could do a four-way just to make it a little bit different, right? And again, I don't want to see Fatu lose his belt. I want to see him continue that. I don't mind them continuing the story with Drew and Priest. I just wonder what's going on next with LA Knight. So there's a lot, but at least the United States Championship picture is looking a lot more spicier now. And then at some point, you know that you're going to see Jacob Fatu and Solo Sikoa once that actually plays out. Bob Ross, thank you so much for this generous super chat. We got CJ here who says, Cena has eaten a finisher 4 promos in a row. He has with Cody, with Randy. Yeah, he's been on that for sure. You're right about that. Sleaze Boy says, who attacked Bailey while looking at Tatum? Paxley has been stalking Bailey's Twitter and her affection for Lyra. The attacker is Santos Escobar. Can you imagine if Santos attacked Bailey? I don't know. Maybe they'll reveal that Becky Lynch ended up doing it. I'm assuming because she's a heel. That's the only thing I can think of right now.
And that happened real quick. Also, there was a lot of discussion about Bailey losing that spot in that way. So you hope there's a nice redemption arc for Bailey off of that. It is a little bit of a long-term play where she gets to come out of it looking strong.
Yeah, I think so too. Thank you, Sleaze Boy. We got Anthony Giuliano here who says, why is WWE not using the the Rock team, Brian, to write the storyline or help WWE improve the story? WrestleMania 40 was better than WrestleMania 41. I just think it's different people with different people that they want to use and work with and whatnot. That's just my assumption on that. Thank you, Anthony. We got CJ here who says it's because Priest is a stalker, needs a claymore. The running joke now, Robin, is that Damon Priest is Drew McIntyre's stalker.
Oh,
Thank
okay.
you, CJ. All right. With that being said, I want to go ahead and get into some of the other big topics of the night. I think we got to get into Aleister Black, by the way, because Aleister Black made his return to WWE here today. The former Malachi Black in AEW, and then of course the former Aleister Black in WWE. Prior to that, he made a big name for himself on NXT. Went on the main roster. Unfortunately, didn't get the same kind of push that he was getting on NXT. Ended up leaving to AEW. Thought it was going to be hot stuff. Did some good stuff on AEW, but then towards the end, he was pretty much like non-existent on the brand. It felt like really the attention was more so on Brody King and Buddy Matthews and Julia Hart, to the point where I didn't even feel like Malachi Black was needed there. But he came in today and took out the Miz, cleaned him out. This was fun to see him, and it happened right after Zelina Vega, by the way, won the United States Championship from Chelsea Green. So I guess we can kind of mesh those two together, because it was a good day for both husband and wife, Malachi Black and, I'm sorry, God damn it, that's going to bother me for a bit, Aleister Black and Zelina. I'm so used to saying Malachi Black, guys. I get used to this stuff.
Yeah, no, the Zelina Vega thing caught me, I guess, slightly by surprise. But nice to see her get that moment. I like the finish of that match. And the refs kicking everybody out, and then her hitting her spot. So I thought her finisher, and I thought that worked really well. As far as the return, I like the production value of it. I like them keeping the music. I liked all of that. The one nitpick I have is I didn't think the announcers sold it enough in that moment. Like, I didn't think Tessitore in particular, it felt like it wasn't a return. They were like, oh, there he is, and it was like, no, 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 you got to sell that after all that production value and the return. The Miz was sort of the sacrificial lamb for it. Overall, I thought it looked cool. That would be my only nitpick. It had nothing to do with the actual performers, but I thought on the broadcast, they could have been like, holy shit, a little bit more.
I saw that from a couple of people in the chat. They were saying that they felt like Joe Tessitore wasn't bringing the energy for that. Wade Barrett, I thought, was bringing the energy. At one point, I was laughing so hard at Wade because he was like, "Oh my God, he's here!" And I'm like,
Yeah.
"Okay, great. Like that's the kind of energy, right, that you want." And I did see some people kind of echo the same sentiment that you did, where they kind of felt like Joe was just kind of like, "Oh, here he is,"
Yeah, I was like,
not
did I
really.
miss his return before? And this is he's back.
He's back again. No, I get it. So yeah, there were a couple of people that kind of echoed that same feeling. All right. Let me go ahead and in terms of expectations though, do you have any expectations of what you want to see for Alistair? I think for me, I guess I kind of want to be reminded once again of why I'm a fan. And it's been a minute for me since I've seen him, go out there and put on a hell of a spectacle. It's been a minute.
Well, it's a clean slate, right? And a new chance. I think that the real challenge is the debuts and the returns are easy to do, right? Like, they're easy to do. It's like, oh my goodness, I haven't heard this music. Oh, there's the promo vignettes that led up to it. Here it is. Great. What next? What's the depth of that character? Where does he go from the, kicking the Miz in the face is great, but why do I want to see him the next week? Why do I want to see him? And I'm not saying he's done anything to make me not, but that's where I think the real selling point is, because I think especially those characters that are shrouded a little bit in darkness and mystery, it's a little bit more difficult for them to have the staying power. I mean, the Wyatt Six have struggled with that in recent times. So that I think is the real challenge is what's his character going to be? What's the edge going to be? What's the direction for him going to be? Because you don't want it to peter out quickly. The returns seem to get a good amount of investment and attention.
Yeah, I also thought his return was done way better than what they did with Rusev over on the Raw side. I was like, yo, that was weak. But at least they did a lot better with Alistair here. All righty. We got a super chat here from Anthony Giuliano who says, we got 1 month left to Money in the Bank. Who is the hottest man and woman to win that? Any ideas? Possible Chelsea Green and Braun Breaker. Someone mentioned earlier today Naomi for the women's Money in the Bank, and I kind of like that, especially after today we saw Tiffany Stratton versus Jade Cargill. I was not expecting them to do this match. Loved what they did there. And afterwards, Naomi came. Well, actually, the match ended with Naomi coming in there and just going like running crazy rampant. All of these shots, she's just like hitting Jade Cargill. That was great. And then so she attacks her. Then Nia attacks Tiffany Stratton right afterwards. So I do like the idea of it being Naomi. I can also see it being Jade. I think that would be kind of cool. But yeah, there's a lot of different ways that they can go about it. With man, I'm not really too sure for the males who that should be. I guess I'm still not really totally on board yet with who I want.
Has Logan Paul won a Money in the Bank yet?
No, I don't think so. I
That
don't
might
want to see Logan Paul with that. No,
that
I mean,
that's like, I'm like, come on,
he
bro.
is always gone though. So it could work. I see what you're saying though, because when he
Yeah,
comes back, it would be like the moment of like, oh, he's going to cash in the briefcase. If not, why would he come back? So it'd be easier to maybe trick the crowd.
and flaunting it in his promos from away or whatever that he's got it. I don't know. He feels like a perfect Money in the Bank kind of guy. I like your idea of Naomi, maniacal Naomi with the Money in the Bank briefcase, perching to cash it in at any moment. But yeah, Logan Paul would be my pick on the other side.
Thank you so much to Anthony
I can see
Giuliano.
your face. You just say, hate Logan Paul.
I I'm like, whatever. So I didn't even think his WrestleMania match with AJ Styles was good. And I'm like, bro,
Yeah.
like, come on, you had AJ Styles there. Like, how you not having a great match? Hassan Batla here says, I want a Black Priest faction. Kind of like what they did with the House of Black. Yeah, that could be cool. Thank you, Hassan. We got Larice Johnson here who says, I would say I want to see a female bloodline between Naomi and Nia Jax. It could happen. I mean, we did see them kind of across paths today. And Naomi basically told her, like, you better proceed with caution. And Nia Jax was like, you're rude. Thank you, Larice. All right. Earlier in the night, let me kind of rewind and get into some of the topics we haven't kind of covered just yet. Fractum, Nathan Frazier and Axiom got a big win over Los Garzas. And I say big win because it was on SmackDown, not necessarily the poor Garzas who they're always doing dirty. But dude, Fractum looked incredible. They're so much fun. What'd you think, Robin?
Yeah, a lot of fast-paced action there, and I think you had a comment that you read who wanted to see them against the Street Profits are involved in that as well, which goes to show you maybe there is a little bit of momentum building for the tag division, but they're very entertaining to watch and super fast-paced. So I think looking forward to seeing more from them for sure.
Yeah, I think so too. By the way, I actually think we kind of covered everything already because I'm like, we already talked about the TLC. We got that. I don't know how we did that so fast. Oh, we did have a John Cena R Truth moment backstage. I didn't mention that. And it was basically him telling him that he wants to be him when he grows up.
Yeah, and then who said you already? Jimmy Uso said you already grew up or something.
Yeah. That was pretty fun. Okay, we already covered Drew and LA Knight and that whole thing. Miz and Aleister, Zelina winning the title. Great moment for her. US title stuff, we covered it. Tiffany Jade covered it. I'm trying to go through. Yeah, we covered all of SmackDown already. Holy shit, that was so fast. It like flew by.
In
And
a
it was
fraction
crazy.
of a second.
Yeah, I was like, wait, there's gotta be one more thing in there that we did not mention. But no, we covered it all, guys. Um, with that being said, we do got another super chat here. This is from Anthony who says, Denise, are you going to Petco Park for Survivor Series? I would love to go because, it's kind of cool that it's at Petco Park. But I've been doing this thing now where I'd like to do my watch alongs instead and then do my post shows right afterwards just because I'm able to get more content. And at the end of the day, that's, my primary job. So I may or may not. I guess once I get closer to the date, I'll kind of decide what I end up doing there. Thank you, Anthony. We got Bob Ross Jr. here who says Fraction is on SmackDown. We need a funnel of Raw and NXT tag. Oh, sorry. We need a funeral of Raw and NXT tag team divisions. Yeah. The SmackDown tag team division right now is the only thing worth talking about.
Definitely has the stranglehold on the tag teams at the moment.
They do. They definitely do. Thank you so much, Bob Ross Jr., for your support. With that being said, guys, that is Friday night SmackDown After Mania. If you enjoyed the show, please, we're here each and every single Friday covering SmackDown, talking about the show, what went down, all of that. Also, do not forget to subscribe to the channel. I'm posting daily pro wrestling content. Today, I dropped an All Elite Crate unboxing video. Tomorrow, I'm going to be dropping my WrestleMania 41 vlog, so you can check that out. Plus, all of the WrestleMania content is up every day. There's something going up here. Robin, what do you got? Tell the people.
Yeah, follow me on X at Robin Lundberg, Robin Lundberg Show on YouTube as well. If you're into the basketball, Indiana Fever, Women's Fast Break on SI, and I keep saying it here, but I'm eventually launching the wrestling channel with my son. We're getting the ball rolling. I had to send him Denise feedback on some of his videos, and I'm hoping he takes the constructive feedback because he's got his YouTube channel up. But sometimes he'll put the title. I'm like, you got to put the keywords in the title, dude. You gotta, like he was saying why he did a series on why he thinks Braun Breaker aligned with Seth Rollins and Paul Heyman, but he didn't put their names in the title. So
Aw, poor thing.
I was like, dude, you got to put their names in the
He'll
title.
get it. He'll get it. I'm telling you, there's gonna be a superstar pretty soon.
Yeah, no doubt. What? And can I see your shirt?
Oh yes, it's this one right here. Look,
Okay, cool. Yeah, no. I was wondering. It's kind of
there's the
like
back part too, but you can't.
it's kind of like David Bowie esque,
I
if that
don't
makes sense.
know. I just know
Yeah,
that
no,
I really like it, and it looks
style-wise,
cool.
I like it
It
too.
looks
Yeah.
like almost looks like a band T-shirt,
Yeah,
right?
that's what I'm saying. David Bowie, like an
Yeah.
early 80s kind of shirt for a guy like that. Yeah.
Yes, that's exactly why I like it. And I got a really big size, so I kind of wear it as a dress. So I really, really like it. Yeah. Alrighty. Well, there you go, guys. That's our show. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and we'll catch you guys on the next one. Bye, everyone. Take care.
Yeet.